What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. First week of the National Football League's 2025 season. The Patriots and Raiders are going to get after it. We're also going to talk today with Phil Perry about Christian Gonzalez, the timeline for his return, which seems to be elongated. Patriots named their captains after releasing Jabrill Peppers. Some eye-opening decisions there. Meanwhile, we will have Mike Florio, who'll be on with us to talk about the Patriots' perception around the league and whether they can crack the AFC hierarchy. But first, here's Mike Vrabel talking about how he is preparing for this week and where his head's at.
There's a lot of excitement, but also things that you want to prepare for. And how much do you prepare? How much do you give them? I guess, you don't want to cover ghosts, but you certainly want to be prepared for things that come up. And maybe that's just me handling it and making sure that we're not overloading the players. And, give them some. They have base rules that we have to use and go and see what happens on Sunday as far as the scheme that we're seeing and making sure that we're really good in the second half. We talked about being great in the second half and being intentional with that. 12 of the 16 winners won the second half last year in week one. So, hopefully the dust settles and we're able to, settle down in a game and play really well to finish the game.
All right, bring in the Senator Phil Perry right now. Phil, do you think that Vrabel and the Patriots are where they thought they would be as they prepare for the Raiders?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of putting it. This, to me, has been a relatively predictable summer for the New England Patriots, even though so much has changed. I believe they have established an identity under Mike Vrabel, and that will continue to evolve and grow and harden over time. But they're there. I think we know what they want to be about already before they even get into week one. In terms of the talent on the field, that, to me, also eminently predictable. I haven't budged off of my 9 wins prediction. I think the quarterback is where we thought he would be, Tom. I think the weapons and the line are where we thought they would be, which is a work in progress. And defensively, outside of missing the best player on that side of the ball, I think they're pretty good. So to me, they are who we thought they were.
And that's what I want to delve into next is defensively, there's 2 things that are operating here. And I have a new idea germinating in my tiny little brain. It's not just the absence of Christian Gonzalez, but it's the release of Jabrill Peppers. It's the marginalization of Kyle Duggar. It's new guys like Milton Williams and Caleb Von Chason and Harold Landry and Robert Spillane and the back end of the defense with Jalen Hawkins elevating and Alex Austin is going to be out there. So this defense is going to be very new and unaccustomed to playing with itself. Meanwhile, here's Mike Vrabel on Christian Gonzalez at his timeline for return.
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate him out here today. So hopefully that improves. But he's working hard and trying to improve, and he wants to be out there. And I think this is good for us and for Christian and the team is try not to be frustrated. Obviously, those things happen, and it's how we respond to them. It's how hard we work to get back, the communication, all the things that he's doing. So, just continue to work hard to get back and try to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help him.
Is there a concern for him on Sunday with the timing, just the days?
Well, again, I think that get him back for practice first, and then we'll have an update and status for Sunday.
Phil, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it real clear. This whole Christian Gonzalez thing is a wrench in the works, isn't it?
It has to be. This is the player who is going to help make this thing go defensively. He and his ability to cover the other team's best weapon allows you to do so much, whether it's Mike Vrabel or Terrell Williams in terms of cooking up exotic fronts, blitz packages, disguise. You can do all of those things because you have that talent on the outside to take away the other team's best player. You don't have to sacrifice multiple bodies in the secondary to do exactly that. They should have 2 guys, quite frankly, Tom, in both Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, who are capable of that kind of thing. Obviously, Gonzalez at a higher level. But if you're without one of them, to me, that significantly impacts what you're going to be able to do on that side of the ball as a team.
Week 1, the Patriots are going to go up against Geno Smith. Capable veteran quarterback, I'd say top 16. They're going to deal with Amari Cooper, and who's the other wideout over there?
Well, Brock Bowers is really
Brock
the
Bowers
guy, and
tight end.
Jacoby Myers. I would put Amari
you.
Cooper below both of them, yeah.
Why did I forget? Yeah, 100%.
Jacoby Myers. You have him on the
Not have started
Patriots
with Amari
already.
Cooper.
You've already got him in New
I
England.
do. So there'll be a challenge, especially with Bowers occupying the two young safeties and Geno Smith, in now for Pete Carroll's Raiders. They're going to bang the ball to him because he is an extremely productive tight end. It was interesting, Mike Vrabel really laboring to make sure that people understood that when he used the word frustrated relative to Christian Gonzalez, he wasn't talking about the team being frustrated. But given what we've seen from the outside, he left the field early on in training camp, walked off the field with a hamstring that he was just grabbing at. He didn't get buckled. He didn't go down like Patrick passed back in the day when he dropped the ball, fell down because he tore his hamstring so severely. So it does, on the face of it, you're like, what's taking so friggin' long?
Yeah, and I think there's just this lingering thing too, right, of Christian Gonzalez going into a season where we think we talk about him like he's going into a contract year. He's not going into a contract year, but he is going into an next offseason where he can be extended if all goes well. And I think this is just sort of looming over everything. Mm-hmm. And we have no reason really to believe that he would slow play it and have the ability to play and then choose not to play just because he wants to be 100% and not 99%. But it's human nature, I would think, if you're him, to say, I want to be extra careful with this because this is a really critical year for me. And I just saw Sauce Gardner get a record-setting deal from the Jets, and that's what I'm aspiring to. And so I can't get that money unless I'm fully good. And that to me is, I don't know how to handle that if I'm Mike Vrabel, quite frankly. Because on the one hand, you want to be a player's coach and you want to allow these guys to be at their best and allow them to succeed, and the health of the players is the most important thing. I get that. But everybody, even now, by the end of training camp, a lot of these guys that are going to play a lot of football for them are dealing with something, right? How many of these guys are truly 100%? And so where is that line where it goes from being, yeah, Christian, do whatever you need to do, to we really need you on the field, bud?
Yeah, it's pivotal because if you start the season with a still sore hamstring and you're not yourself through September, you're certainly not going to magically be yourself in October after having covered NFL receivers for 4 weeks and going through the car wrecks that every tackle can be. And it does actually harken back to the point that Vrabel made when asked about Gonzalez early in the training camp process, where he was asked about Gonzalez and he veered entirely to a conversation about not Christian Gonzalez, the player, but generally and conceptually speaking, we have to get these players to understand that there is a middle ground for all of us. We have to be committed to them to realize their own earning potential and everything that they need to do to take care of their family and generations after, while also getting them to commit to the team. So I think that was kind of even if it wasn't intended to be, it served as a smoke signal. Maybe it was a false flag that there was some kind of an issue afoot. So it has, unfortunately, led to the conversation that circles around any injured player when you expect them to be back earlier than they have come back. And you're like, well, why exactly?
Right.
Are they not there? So it's inevitable until you see him out there. And it doesn't sound to me right now like there's any certainty that he will be on the field against the Raiders on Sunday. We're going to have this conversation.
Boy, it doesn't sound great, though, as we sit here and we're talking about it today. I mean, he didn't practice on Monday. He'll have the opportunity to practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you don't see him out there Wednesday, Tom, you feeling like there's any chance he plays on Sunday?
Nope. You can't put a guy out on the field for Thursday and Friday's special teams practice after missing all of July or the better part of July and all of August and say, go play. This is what's good for you. It would be a tough sell. Meanwhile, what will be difficult for the Patriots to deal with on Sunday could be some of the lack of experience that could have been perhaps headed off by the fact that Jabrill Peppers, one of the best players on the team for the last 3 seasons, was released earlier this week. We asked Mike Vrabel on Monday just why he made that move.
Well, I think that these things, are tough decisions. I think we're just trying to get it right. And got a lot of respect for Jabrill as a person and as a player, and what we felt like was in the best interest of the team at this point. was allowing him to have another opportunity elsewhere. There's a lot of things that go into these decisions, and they're never easy, and we're just trying to get it right collectively. And again, I know that there's a personal side and professional side. I talked about that with the players this morning, and whether you agree with it or disagree with it, just try to respect it and move forward and continue to build a team, continue to build a program. And I know Jabrill, will do good things in this league and outside of the field as well. He's a passionate player, and again, got a lot of respect for him.
Felt like in terms of the intangibles, he brought a lot of what you like. You talked about passion, playing with legends. Was there a scheme fit issue?
No, I don't think that was certainly not not the issue. There's a lot of reasons. I wouldn't say that. That's we're going to try to do what's best for the team. We got a lot of different schemes that we can run in all three phases: special teams, offense, and defense. So, there's a lot that goes into it. And again, we're just trying to build towards Sunday here, and that's our focus. And again, it's a decision that we had to make, and again, wish the best for Jabrill.
Phil, how are they better without Jabrill Peppers?
I don't think they are. I think he's one of their best 53 players, and even if, because of his physical skill set, he is not the best fit to play the safety position in this Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams defense, I think he'd be their best backup, and I think he'd be a guy who could really excel on special teams. And if you're Jabrill Peppers, you probably wouldn't love to hear that. As a guy who's played a lot of football in this league, he could return punts. He could do a lot of things for them. I think he's a good leader. I really do. And we're going to talk about leadership a little bit later, but there are a number of things that he does better than many. I won't say necessarily better than most, but better than many in the Patriots locker room right now. And so to me, they're not better without him. I think it's combination scheme fit, even though Mike Vrabel said specifically today it wasn't. I think, maybe he's trying to do the guy a solid on the way out the door in case there's a team looking for him that plays a similar scheme. But I think it's combination scheme fit and financial. It wouldn't surprise me, and nobody's told me that specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me, Tom, if they look at Kyle Duggar and they look at Jabrill Peppers, both of whom are backups or were backups before Peppers was released, and they look at the salaries they're making and the potential for savings there and say, we can't keep both of these guys as our third and fourth safety. And they couldn't get rid of Duggar. They tried. Peppers had to go.
What was Peppers' salary?
It's just a shade over $4 million, I think.
So between them, it would have bing $13 million in salary. Aside from the cap hit, no one really cares about the cap hit. They get plenty of time to absorb that, plenty of space to absorb that. But it's writing $13 million. And again, I've pointed this out a number of times in the last few weeks. The amount of money the Patriots have taken a flamethrower to, the millions, tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in player development and actual salary to move on from players who are not relevant to them anymore, is insane. Phil, you mentioned we would talk about leadership. Let's get to that now. The Patriots have moved on from captains or leaders such as Dietrich Wise, Jonathan Jones, those guys signed elsewhere, Joe Cardona, David Andrews, Juwan Bentley, tried to move on from Duggars, tried to move on from Jennings, have moved on from Peppers. That's 8 guys. Devon Godshaw, throw him in there too if you want to. I asked Mike Vrabel if he made a concerted effort to kind of put his imprint on the team with the kind of leaders that he wanted. Is he trying to instill a culture? Here's what Mike had to say.
Never really thought about it in terms of that when we tried to make decisions. Some of those players were free agents. Some of them were currently on the roster. So, I don't think that's ever been a conscious decision. I think we're just trying to evaluate the roster and, provide the pieces that we feel like we need right now.
Why all those guys gone?
It would make sense if Mike Vrabel wanted a clean slate when it came to his locker room leaders starting year one. The guys who had been leaders here, not through their own fault, hadn't won a lot of football. And as a head coach, your captains are the guys who really are disseminating your message to the rest of the group, right? And so if you have players that you don't think are going to necessarily be great in that regard, you might be more willing to move on from them. And so to me, it's not any coincidence that all of these players are gone. They probably could have used some of these guys. Again, we're talking about the top 53. You look at the depth on this roster, Tom, are not a lot of those names that you mentioned guys that would fall under the category of among the most talented 53 players in New England if they were still here? Mm-hmm. They probably would. So I think he gave a political answer to your good question. Congratulations to you. But I think that has to be part of the calculus for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've spent a ton of time trying to foster a particular kind of team around Drake May. Unmistakably, they wanted certain kinds of players around May. They wanted certain personalities. They wanted a certain level of what they perceived to be complete team first players, protect the team. Mike said that in his opening press conference. So look, if there was entitlement that Mike talked about that he perceived on the part of these players, then that's a moving on situation. Here are the captains, though, for the Patriots, announced on Monday. Drake May, Hunter Henry, and Brendan Schooler. So you have two offensive and a special teamer. Then you have Marcus Jones, Harold Landry, and Robert Spillane. Really interesting when you think about it, because Spillane and Harold Landry are newcomers, and the other newcomer was Milton Williams, who's making a whole hell of a lot more than Harold Landry. What do you make of these captain choices, especially with Spillane on the defensive side?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me on Spillane. I think his leadership has shown up on the field. He's the middle linebacker.
But
he's the play caller,
for instance.
I just don't view corners as. I think it takes a very special kind of corner to be considered a leader. Middle linebacker, to me, that comes with the position. It's almost like being the quarterback, right? If Spillane wasn't a captain, I would think it a little odd. Milton Williams is an interesting one just because of the amount that he's being paid and how much they're going to rely on him, and somebody who's won a Super Bowl and played a lot of football at a high level, and so that would have made some sense. The offensive side is almost even a little bit more surprising to me, Tom, even though they do have the two newcomers there on the defensive side. I thought there was a chance for two newcomers on the offensive side to be named captains. I was thinking Morgan Moses for the offensive line, and I was thinking Stephon Diggs. I thought Stephon Diggs might get that nod from his teammates as somebody who has had a borderline Hall of Fame level career. He was a captain in Buffalo, I believe. He was a captain in his only year in Houston, and he comes here and he's not. And so that one is one that stood out to me too.
Yeah, it is interesting. There's no offensive linemen who are among the captains. So, I mean, we've been told in the past how important captains are because they're a layer between head coach and players who can go between. Does Mike circumvent that layer more than Bill did? Because Bill liked to have his leadership council, so to speak. So it is interesting when you look at, for instance, Harold Landry. He wasn't to the team, but I think to most fans, he was kind of looked at as kind of an afterthought. Okay, good, Harold Landry, great. Who's next? When he was signed. Yet and from when we've talked to him, I've enjoyed listening to him. He's a sharp guy. You can tell he's into it, but it was eye-opening to see Harold Landry get one of the captaincies.
Yeah, and just because, I'm not even sure.
I know.
I would have to go back and check to see if he was a captain in Tennessee, and he obviously had some real success in Tennessee. But I think the later it got in his Tennessee tenure, as bad as the team was, I think it was hard for them to really be able to identify any leaders down there in Tennessee. It just had gotten that bad, And so I think that's a sign, too, of how important he'll be to the defense. We haven't talked about him much this summer, but he's always out there. To me, he is impactful on passing only situations, and we'll see how he does in the run game. But between Landry and Kayvon Chason, who I should note was named a game captain for this Raiders game upcoming. He just came from the Raiders, so maybe that's part of it. But Vrabel said in a video that was produced by the team and put out on X that he got votes, Chason did, as both a special teams captain and a defensive captain. So he wasn't named a season-long captain, but he'll be a captain on Sunday.
All right, Sunday, we got a lot to look forward to, including Kayvon Chason out at the midfield stripe.
Revenge game.
Yeah, big-time revenge game for Kayvon Chason and for Jacoby Myers and for Pete Carroll and...
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost forget that guy coached here for 3 years.
Oh, it was my first 3 years on the beat.
I mean, nobody's actually forgotten, but It's just not the storyline
One
that it probably would be a lot
overlooks.
of other places.
One overlooks. Meanwhile, not to be overlooked is the next segment coming up. We're going to have Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk joining us in just a minute. Don't you move. Hey, what's up, everybody? Bringing in Mike Florio now. Mike is brought to you by Shaw's. They're known for perfecting the art of fresh. Speaking of fresh, here's Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, right there, that's Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, one of my closest friends, longest friends, dearest friends. Isn't that right, Mike?
Sure. Whatever you say. Hey, who did your artwork? The Tom Curran podcast thing. Did you do that yourself? Was that paint by numbers? Where'd that come from? I like it.
Oh,
Other
good.
shoulder.
Yeah, no, I thought that was going to be, I thought you were going to pan it at the very end. So you like it. So we'll send somebody down to West Virginia to take care of that for you. I'm not sure exactly who did it, but I like it too.
Did your dog do it?
Who?
Your dog.
Oh,
You know,
Bo Curran,
Paw.
yeah. He's on
Oh,
the
yeah.
He's on the ropes right now. He's got a
It
little.
looks good, though. It does look good. It does look good.
Thank you. You know what else looks good is Big Shield. Your book that recently came out. Is that your third book or your fourth?
Oh, it's probably sixth if we're going to be technical. So we're working on a stack. Got a stack of 6, got 6 more in the pipeline. The goal is to get to 20 before I check out of the human library and go to the great book depository in the sky.
Well, you better get cracking because you're reaching an advanced age. Big Shield.
Thanks.
A synopsis.
Nice to see you too on a holiday. Thanks. You asked me to work on a holiday and you insult me.
Let's get back to the book. I've started reading it. It is good.
You're on page 2.
I have the introduction to the third character is upon me. He said, "Please read the book before you," and I did. I downloaded it, started reading it. I'm enjoying it. It's Hemingway-esque, short, crisp sentences. I noticed that early on. Very crisp writing. And the nice thing is, when he used the word slappies, I'm like, there's nobody else who's going to write a football book who's not in this realm, who's going to use the word slappies in the appropriate manner. So it was good to see slappies in there.
It's funny how you say you're introduced to the third character. That's chapter 3, and the chapters are short. So you really are on like page 10. But that's okay. That's okay. And somebody gave me some constructive criticism, and the person was actually disappointed that after reading Big Shield, there was at no point during the reading experience where the person had to look up a word. And that's a criticism. Like, I don't like having to look up words when I read a book. I don't like when the author feels compelled to show off that he or she has such a better vocabulary than the rest of us. So you can save your detritus for the fancier Pulitzer nominees. I try to read. I try to read things I can understand. I try to write things that I can understand and that people will understand. So you will not, even you, Tom, will not have to look up any of the words, especially not slappies.
That's a tremendous relief, and it's slappy genre level of. You'll be able to understand everything Mike's driving at in this book, which I encourage everyone to go pick up.
It's authentic and it's real. That's all you can look for. Something that sweeps you away, that is clearly the world of make-believe, but it draws you in because it feels like it could really happen. That's the idea.
Plus, not only does it feel like it, could really happen, it's written in a way that shows you that the author, that's you, has an understanding of the machinations, don't have to look that word up, of the NFL and how it truly works on different levels. The business side, the player side, which it revolves around a third-string quarterback who is maybe a little compromised with the onset of gambling, and which permeates everything right now, as Mike so adeptly points out. Did I do a pretty good job only getting to page 10?
That's a pretty good job. You have a basic understanding, although you could have picked that up from the Amazon description. Look, it delves into one of the things I've been concerned about ever since the Supreme Court opened the floodgates for all states, any states, whichever states wants to do it, to adopt legal sports betting programs. 38 now have legalized sports betting along with the District of Columbia. And I worry about the prevalence of inside information. And I also wonder whether or not the NFL is doing enough to control it. We see these scandals pop up in other sports, like what's going on with baseball with the 2 Guardians pitchers. The latest development was they're going to remain on paid leave indefinitely while they look into whether there was manipulation of individual prop bets. And that's the thing. Hard to fix a game, easy to manipulate a prop bet. Easy to hit the unders on your prop bet if you make like Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack and say, oh, my arm, it's broken, and you leave the game. You hit your unders. That's what Jonte Porter, formerly the Toronto Raptors, now banned for life from the NBA, did. So my curiosity with the NFL, because it's like, hey, the NFL hasn't had a problem yet. Maybe they're buttoned up. Yeah, or maybe they just look the other way. Maybe they don't want to know. Maybe they don't want to go down that rabbit hole because they realize, number one, it's too deep, and number two, they'll never be able to plug it with cement. You're always going to have somebody who's in a position to acquire inside information and share inside information to somebody who will misuse it. So this book is premised on the existence and the misuse of inside information, but that's the starting point. It still has to have a story. There has to be a story. I learned that watching Seinfeld. There has to be a story. It can't be about nothing. So this is about something.
All right. Pick it up. You can find it on Amazon, which is what I did. I downloaded it very easily. It's called Big
You paid
Shield.
the 99 cents. I thought you were too cheap for that.
I thought you said you were going to send me $1.
Are you going to write it off?
You said you were going to send me $1.
I will send you $1.
All right. Now to live action. The Patriots, Mike, they could go from the cellar of the AFC all the way up to second. They're not taking out the Buffalo Bills, but do you envision a team that, in the AFC East at least, can climb the ladder all the way up to number 2?
One of the favorite sayings that I've ever heard from someone else, I prefer to come up with my own sayings so I don't have to credit others, because I feel guilty if I use their sayings without crediting them. Big Cat. My good friend Big Cat says dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And the Titans are one of the current NFL dysfunctional teams. And that dysfunction was demonstrated a year and a half ago when they fired Mike Vrabel. They never should have fired Mike Vrabel. You get a guy who's a great game day coach, a great motivator, a great game planner, a guy who understands the nuances, the rules as well as one of his mentors, Bill Belichick. You don't let that guy out of the building, and they did. And now the Patriots are going to benefit from that. You know, it may take more than a cycle or two to refill the cupboard that Belichick left largely bare, but the Patriots are going to get there. And I don't know that we're going to see another, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, but they're going to be competitive again. And I think it starts this year. 7 playoff teams per conference, 17 regular season games. That's enough time to navigate and to position yourself for one of those wild card berths. I think they will be second place in the division, and I think they'll be in the mix for potential wild card berth.
And that's exactly what I think, too. But when you look at the teams who were wild card teams or sniffing around it last year, you have Chargers, Bengals, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. Not a murderer's row, but a group of accomplished and promising teams with quarterbacks in place at all of them, if you want to include the Steelers there, too. Can they crack that level?
I think it's going to be a challenge. Now, we could see some of those teams slip. Injuries are the great unknown that we can't really properly predict. I don't know what the Steelers are going to be as a result of the Aaron Rodgers experiment. Some of those teams may rise, too. I think the Broncos are in a position where they can kick it up to that next level. The Texans have made some bold moves aimed at no longer being a perennial division winner in a bad division, win a home playoff game, and then give one of the elite teams a run for their money, sort of, before being dispatched from the playoffs. So they're trying to take a step up. But there's so many variables, there's so many factors, but the Patriots can be in that conversation. And the reality is this: whatever any team is right now as we embark on the first week of the regular season, by the time we get to week 18, most teams are going to be different. They're not going to be the same. They're going to be better, or they're going to be worse. And for a team that has a first-year coach, not that he's a rookie coach, but it's his first year in the system, and the players need to get to know him and grow with him, the Patriots are one of the teams that will probably be better when we get 4 months into the season than they are right now, and that will help them, assuming they can get enough early wins. Those wins in September are money in the bank. Tight margins. You need to have that 10-7, and every loss narrows your window of opportunity to get to the postseason. But they need to win enough early that they can improve and compete and maybe take, 6 or 7, one of those last 2 wild card spots, and get into the tournament and build for next year.
And that's one of the hard things. These guys, to be good early, they have had such radical roster turnover, especially It you see is the back end of the defense with Jabrill Peppers out, Kyle Duggar's down on the scout team, Christian Gonzalez might be injured. That's supposed to be a strength. The secondary, it's wholly new. Up front, you got Milton Williams and Harold Landry newly added. K'Lavon Chason, he's another edge guy. He's new to them. Robert Spillane at the second level. So people are presuming a very good Patriots defense, but your point is well taken. Can you make hay early with all these guys who haven't played together? Is the window still open for the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC?
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would think it isn't. I think people are influenced by Chiefs fatigue. That we've seen the Chiefs in 5 Super Bowls since the 2019 season. Every one except Super Bowl 56 has featured the Kansas City Chiefs. They've won 3. They've never done worse than lose in overtime of the AFC Championship since Patrick Mahomes became the starter in 2018. That's one of the most impressive runs we've ever seen. His own, from the year he became a starter, they've never done worse than lose in overtime of the AFC Championship. It's amazing. So I don't think that mindset, that drive, you've got Mahomes, you've got Andy Reid, you've still got plenty of great players around them. Has the gap closed between them and the Ravens and the Bills? Well, you can say, yeah, maybe, but the thing that we forget, the regular season is a week in and week out slog. And we watch the records and who's ahead and who's clinching playoff berths. And then once we get to the postseason, it all goes out the window and it comes down to 60 minutes. Which teams can pivot to that reality where your season is on the line? Everything you worked for, everything you did from the start of the offseason program is on the line for that 60 minutes. Do you rise to that moment and find a way to win? Or do you urinate down your leg and there it all goes? And for the teams that have had a history of struggling with the Chiefs, the pressure on them keeps getting greater and greater until they can slay the beast. I think that is reason enough to say the window's still open for the Chiefs because someone's got to be able to close it. And until someone closes it in the postseason, the window is still open. I'm talking about AFC playoff field. Super Bowl, they've lost twice, and they've lost in convincing fashion. But they didn't go away after they lost badly to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They were right back at it, and I think they're going to be right back at it again.
Yeah, I think that's the taste. You forget that they went 15-2 in the regular season last year because somewhat of the steamrolling they took at the hands of the Eagles. Would you still figure that Philadelphia has to be the odds-on favorite?
They've had some turnover as well, but that's one of the byproducts of being a great team. You're going to lose certain players. You're not going to be able to pay everyone. They're very good about swooping in, no pun intended, and picking up the right players, signing the right players early, keeping that nucleus of talent together. I think that they're the most talented team in the NFC, maybe in the AFC as well, but they still have to do it week in and week out. You got the target on your back week in and week out. And the great unknown that will affect, in theory, every team, but we know it's going to affect some teams more than others, it's injury. It's injury. We can't predict it. It's bad form to say, well, if this quarterback tears an ACL, well, if that quarterback suffers a torn Achilles tendon. I mean, certain quarterbacks are conducive to the injury conversation like Tua Tagovailoa because he hasn't been. But in 2023, He went wire to wire, 17 games, and it seems like nobody else did. So you never know when the injuries are going to happen, and that's going to affect teams. It's not just quarterback, other key players. And then can you recover? Does the next man up come in and get it done? Do you make a good move via free agency or trade market to make the team better when there's an injury? That's really the key because 17 games now, it's hard to keep your core players healthy for the entirety of the regular season.
What's the outside impression, Mike, of the triumvirate of Vrabel, May, and Josh McDaniels? Does that look like a recipe for success? High-level success, not a 500 record, but
yeah, it does if they got the right guy in May. And we saw enough last year that it was, pass fail. It looks like it was pass with Drake May. It looked like he's good enough to play in the NFL. Now there's going to be growing pains when you go from last year's offense to this year's offense, and you get the crash course in the Josh McDaniels offense. And hey, there's a reality in football that every new coach wants his own quarterback, unless the quarterback he inherits is so good that anyone would want him. Like when Tony Dungy went to Indianapolis, there was never a conversation as to whether or not Peyton Manning was his guy. But usually what happens is the team's bad for a reason, and one of the reasons is the quarterback's not good enough. Now, I think Drake May gets a pass for last year, but I think we do need to monitor how this goes. And if this year ends up being 5-12, 6-11, I'm not saying that it's time to scrap the Drake May experiment. They seem to be committed to him, so committed that they had to get Joe Milton out of the building because they didn't like that notion that Milton thought he was as good, if not better than May, and maybe a few of the players did too. So I think they're trying to elevate and support and justify the investment they've made in May. Now the investment's got to start paying off. Not as much this year as next year, but this year can prove that it's right. But if this year doesn't work, then you monitor. I mean, look, how many quarterbacks go 10, 15 years with the same team? Not many. And one of the reasons they do is because they win enough that there's never a conversation that maybe we can find somebody better. That's all to be determined with new coach, new offensive coordinator, and quarterback who is holdover, but he's only been in the NFL 1 year.
It is funny when you point that out, too, the Joe Milton situation. The Patriots were and have been very reactionary to what they just witnessed with their last first-round quarterback in 2021, Mac Jones. Showed promise. The next year, they did not give him a support system around him for coaching and figured he'd be okay. And when he pushed back and said, this isn't helping me, I feel like I'm getting worse, he got chopped off at the knees, and then we saw 2023 unfold, and the team was horrendous. So to me, it's this effort to build the safest nest possible around Drake May as a reaction to that, and then they'll see whether or not the kid can flourish. But it's really interesting because that's been a huge aspect of their offseason. They've let go of good players like Jabrill Peppers. They tried to trade Kyle Duggars. They've really changed over their entire leadership group. Guys you would imagine were good players and valuable leaders, they have moved on from. So it's interesting to see that they are really trying to foist everything on Drake May as, the tip of the spear, so to speak. Mike, there's a story every year that dominates. Last year you could say it was officiating and Jaden Daniels. Sometimes it's quarterback injuries. Look into your crystal ball. Will there be a story that overarches everything in the league this year in terms of a storyline, I guess?
Well, it's impossible to predict in advance, but there always is something that develops and becomes the thing. It becomes the trend. It becomes the gift that keeps on giving. Whether it is irregularities with officiating, they've got that new virtual measurement thing, and some people believe it's going to help spot the ball more accurately. It has nothing to do with the spot. It has everything to do with once it's spotted, did you get the first down? And the chains are gone, and they use that. They have that very elaborate system of cameras now in every stadium that makes it easier to triangulate and set it right. So, if there's issues with that, that could be a thing. The kick return, I think the kick return's one to watch. Now that they've moved the touchback point for kickoffs that are sent into the end zone without hitting the field of play and aren't brought out or that go out of the end zone altogether, you start at the 35. When you look at how good the field goal kickers are, we had a 70-yarder in the preseason. There was a day where there were two 63-plus-yard field goals made on a preseason game, and nobody even shrugged. When you start at the 35, you don't have to gain much territory to be in position for a long field goal. And I think we could see an uptick in scoring, and we could see some situations. And it all depends upon what teams do to put the ball in play and force returns. But even then, the returns may get to the 35 or beyond. The issue last year was if the touchback points to the 30, well, why are we going to do a return? It's going to get to the 30. Well, now that they do returns, maybe it's going to get to the 35. Maybe it's going to get to the 40. I just think that I remember the days when it was just you start at the 20, like every drive, you start at the 20, bang it out of the end zone, and you start at the 20. We're now 15 yards away from the 20. That's already a nice start to a drive. You don't have to do much to score points. So I think scoring could be up. And when we get into crunch time of games, those kickoffs are now must-see TV because you either put it in play and the return puts the team that's trailing in good position to score, tie the game, win the game, whatever, or they're going to start from the 35. So it's going to be more exciting in the special teams and more impactful in the special teams than I think it's been in a long time.
I like that. That was very good.
I hadn't thought about it in advance. I just pulled it out of my butt. But you know what?
That's going to be a good post for you later.
I thought the same thing. You know what? Special teams take on more importance than ever, especially the kicking. The kicker, the kick returner, and the field goal kicker are going to be very important this year.
And one little note for that, the Patriots have emphasized that they will try and take advantage of that and make it a scoring play in their first preseason game. Travion Henderson went for 100, and Antonio Gibson, two of their lead running backs, were both back returning kicks, and Gibson took his about 65 yards. Last question. It's a golden age of quarterbacks right now, Mike. I mean, we had Manning and Brady and McNair and Roethlisberger, but right now with Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, and I'm going to miss a few because I'm going off the top of my head, but quarterbacks now are as proficient as they've ever been. Agree or disagree on that? And then generally, is this a golden age of football? Because I don't believe that it is a golden age of football the way it was 20 years ago. But the quarterbacks are better.
Not that long ago, when Mahomes was just getting started, it was a golden age in that we had a cluster of older guys who were still performing at a high level, and we had incoming young guys who showed a bunch of promise and were successful out of the gates. Lamar Jackson, MVP in his second season, 2019. Patrick Mahomes wins Super Bowl in his second season as a starter in 2019. Tom Brady still in the game in 2019, wins a Super Bowl in 2020. Aaron Rodgers, a couple of MVPs in the early part of this decade. So there was a great disconnect, but it was fun to watch. The old guys hanging on, the young guys coming up. Now you've got the young guys coming into their prime. Will the new class of young guys really rise up? Will it just be Jaden Daniels? Will Caleb Williams become the guy? Will J.J. McCarthy become the guy? There's a lot of young guys with question marks. So it's got the potential to be a golden age. Right now, I look at four guys in the AFC and say they're clearly the best. All due respect to everyone else, the four guys in the AFC are the best right now. As it relates to football generally, I think Pete Rozelle, if he was around today, he'd say, well, be careful what you wish for, because in the 70s, he wanted parity, because it was the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Dolphins that ran the league. And we're 30 years into the salary cap system, and the reality is some franchises have cracked the code on how to be successful with, a relatively hard cap, although you can always find cap space if you need it, and this sense of parity in the league. You've got, how people say, who's going to make the Super Bowl this year? It's like, God, I hate to say the Chiefs and Eagles again, but you've got you've got some super teams, and then you've got everybody else. And I don't like that. And look, the Patriots were the super team for a while. I prefer a variety pack. I'd like it to not be the Chiefs and Eagles again. I just think it's good for the sport to have greater rotation through the teams and to see teams not just go from being horrible to becoming a playoff team. I'd like to see some other teams rise up. And I don't like dynasties. I never liked dynasties in the NFL. I'd like the other kids to get a turn. The problem is the other kids have to go take their turn. Like I said earlier, you can't see the Patriots or the Chiefs window close until somebody closes it. Somebody else has to step up, and we'll see if somebody does this year.
Yeah, it's funny. Those teams that make the playoffs in the wild card positions or that they win a crappy division, you don't have a vision of them going on to roll through the playoffs and knock off teams the way you might. I mean, the Patriots in 2001 were as great an anomaly as one can imagine, to go from 5-11 the year before, the worst team in the league, really by many accounts at the beginning of the year, to winning a Super Bowl. Mike, 2001,
Tom,
I think, was that the first year of Pro Football Talk?
November 1, 2001. 25th anniversary will be next November if I live that long.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
If you're going to live that long, you got like 20 books to go. You better not kick it.
Well, no, I got 8. I got 8 to go.
All right.
Kick it into overdrive. It's when you. I know you need to go, but
no.
I do want to say this about the writing process, because people think, oh, how in the world do you write like 1 or 2 books a year? It's like, if you're committed to writing 1,000 words a day, which in our business, 1,000 words is nothing. Like, I'm cranking out 1,000-word posts on a regular basis. If you can develop the discipline, kids, to write 1,000 words a day, that's 365,000 words a year. That's like 4 books. So it really isn't all that hard. You just have to find, the challenge is every single day you got to find time to do it. Just find time. Find that thing you love to do and find time every day to do it.
All right. I'm going to go
I don't know where that PSA came from, but the spirit moved me and I listened.
I'm going to the driving range later. That's what I love. All right, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, you be on the senior tour. Is there a super senior tour that you'd qualify for? Is there like 65 and over? Because you're just about there, aren't you?
No.
How old are you?
I'm younger than you.
Well, that doesn't narrow it down very much.
When Pro Football Talk started, I was 32. How's that?
Wow. You're 57. 56.
Ooh, he's a quick study.
You're a lot younger than me. Why do you look older than me?
I've been through a lot. All right.
Painting that poster behind you took a lot out of you.
It did. It's been nothing but work over here with the decorative stuff. Mike, thank you so much. Happy Labor Day. Happy rest of the week. Happy opening week.
Thank you, Tom. See you, buddy.
All right, bud. All right, that's it for us on this edition of Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. I want you to do me a favor, too. Quick Snap, the podcast featuring David Andrews and Brian Hoyer, is joining the NBC Sports Network. You'll be seeing that on Wednesdays on this very air, okay? Well, on the television, if you turn on the television. But it's on our podcast network, too.
We're back with a very special guest, the only person we could really have in our new studio, Season 2, Episode 1, the man, the myth, the legend, and soon to be Patriots Hall of Famer, Julian Edelman. What's up, guys?
Welcome, Julian. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I mean, I remember watching you guys when you guys were doing this out of your basement. Yeah. And now it kind of reminds me of like when Wayne's World got super corporate. Yeah. I love it. Do you have like the I know, we're working on it. This is, look, hey, first run, and you're our first guest. I mean, you were kind enough to have us on your shows. Yeah. We thought only fitting that we reciprocate and have you come on. I'm super honored. You guys killed our show, so thank you guys for coming on. It's always so fun to relive these stories that we got to live and give the people an inside look of, like, the Patriots when we were having fun. Everyone has this whole mantra that we didn't
had a
have
lot of fun.
Had a lot of fun.
We just didn't talk about it.
That's right. Just didn't talk. We talk about it now.
So make sure to keep an eye out for that. First episode this Wednesday, Julian Edelman will join those two. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk.